leave
Because they're dark, huh?
That's up to you.
Yeah.
It's up to you. If you want to keep
I
them
can
on,
see.
keep them
I
on.
can see, but
If you want to keep them off, you can keep them off. Actually, if you don't need them to see, maybe keep them off if that's good. Yeah, because then it'll be more. Okay, so we're gonna go here. We can just start from here. So we'll just start from here and walking in to the camera. Today is May 5th, 2019. We are in LASKI, Poland. My name is Karen Jungblut. I'm here with Eva Kuper, Holocaust survivor from Montreal, who arrived this morning from Montreal, and here to talk to Eva about her experience. Eva, tell us about where we're at right now, and can you describe it, where we're at?
this is, LASKI is about 15 kilometers, I believe it's south of Warsaw. And it's an institute for the blind. It's a very large territory, including farmlands, buildings, cemeteries, chapels, school, horse stables. They have everything here. And they have, it's the Franciscan Sisters in the Service of the Cross. And they have been educating children aged 3 to 19, blind children. Many of them are deaf as well. And they've been educating children since before the war. And we're here because my rescuer, Sister Klara Jaroszyńska, spent the last years of her life here. In fact, she lived in this building. And my first meeting with her in 2005 was on that little porch right over there.
How did you connect with her again?
My father told me, my father survived the war, he told me that I was saved by nuns. He didn't know her name, he didn't know which nuns, and that's all I knew. And I came to Poland with my husband, my cousin and his wife in 2005 on kind of a family roots trip. And I traveled through Poland with them for about 16 days, and then my daughter came after that. They left and my daughter came. And in fact, before I left Montreal, I did some research into convents because my father said I was saved by nuns in a convent in the south of Poland near the Zakopane border, near the Czech border. And a friend of mine in Montreal told me that she had met, when she was in Poland, a genealogist whose name is Yale Reisner, who had lived at that time in 2005 in Warsaw for 12 years with his family. His wife, in fact, was the principal of the Ronald Lauder Jewish Day School in Warsaw, and I had just resigned my position as principal of a Jewish Day School in Montreal, so I even went to visit her. But we visited Yale, and we waited for him for 4 hours, and it was really an incredible thing because his offices were in the building that was the National Institute, what was it called? Jewish Institute, Historical Institute. His office was there, and he was busy with people all over the world coming to try to retrace or find the histories of members of their families from the wartime. I didn't really think I needed his help because I had made an appointment with a convent. I had researched convents on the net before I left Montreal, and had found a convent in the south of Poland where they told me that nobody's alive now who was there then, but they did have some children and they believed that some of the children were blind. So I made an appointment for my daughter Felisa and myself to visit when she came. But when my friend told me about Yale, I thought, well, let's not leave any stone unturned. Let me see what he can tell us. So we went to him, and he was busy all day. We waited 4 hours. We saw the exhibits in that building, which were very moving, and which I'd read about the Warsaw Ghetto. I'd seen photos, but this was a photo exhibit, which was heartrending, and a film. And when I looked at my watch again, it was 4 hours later, and he still hadn't come to find us, as he said he would. So we went downstairs and I phoned him again to say goodbye, and he said, please, please give me another 15 minutes. He was busy with a couple from Israel. And he came down, we went up to his office, and when I started to tell him my story of being saved by nuns in the south of Poland, and some of the children were blind, or all of the children were blind, he jumped out of his chair and he ran to his bookcase where he had, I would say, in excess of 1,000 books. And he pulled out this book, which was called Your Life is Worth Mine in English. And it was written by a woman whose name is Eva Kurek. And in it she documents in brief paragraph form, places where nuns, various orders of nuns, had saved Jewish children. And he flipped the pages because he said, I've heard this story. And he kept flipping the pages till he came to a paragraph which said that the Franciscan sisters in the service of the cross were involved with educating blind children. That was their work. And during the war, because they had over 300 children here in this location, but because they're so close to Warsaw and the bombs were falling on their heads, and they were worried, of course, very concerned that they would die, the children would die, they divided the children into smaller groups and sent them to various rural areas in the countryside, feeling that they would be safer. And so I was not saved in a convent or even in an institute for the blind such as this. I was saved in a farmhouse, actually. And he gave me the name. He said, in this paragraph, it said that in this place, Sister Klara Yaroshinska, that's the first time I heard her name, saved the life of one little girl, one Jewish little girl. And we all were 100% sure that that little girl was me. And he gave me a contact number, and after some problems reaching, because he'd written the digits down and he'd written one digit wrong, so I wasn't able to reach anybody here the next day at all. And then my daughter came the following day, and I was able to reach Yale to get the good number, and called and spoke to a woman, a nun, whose name was Sister Jana Pavwa. We learned today that she's now in the Ukraine. And she was very excited when I told her who I was and why I was coming, why I wanted to talk to her. She invited me to come and visit LASKI, which I did with my daughter Felisa. We were totally unprepared to have found my rescuer after so many years. We had a little camera, and she took pictures between tears, and I have those pictures. We came here, we met Sister Jana Pavwa, and she took us to this house, and Sister Klara came out, supported on each. She was 94, because when I spoke to Sister Jana Pavwa on the phone, I said to her, is it possible that someone who was with me then is still alive? And she confirmed that Sister Klara was alive, and not only alive, but of clear mind and of very sound memory. She did tell me, though, that Sister Klara was blind, that she suffered from glaucoma, and in spite of several surgeries, she remained blind for the rest of her life, which was probably around the last 10 years of her life. So we came here, and she came out of the building being supported by two young nuns, and they told her that I was here with my daughter, and she dropped her arms from those two nuns, and she opened her arms to me like this, and I ran into her arms, and she held me, and I held her, and we both cried. And I don't know how to explain this, because it really is unexplainable, because I did not remember her at all. I didn't remember her face, her voice, nothing about her. I didn't remember her at all. And yet when I was in her arms and she was holding me, I felt like I'd come home. The way I explain it to myself and to groups that I speak with is that it's something like an emotional memory. Somewhere in my body I retained the feeling that I had from her, because we spoke on that little porch for the next 2 hours, and I told her my memories, and she corroborated most of them and changed a few. And she told me that when she agreed to take me, because I had been with someone else, with Hanka Rembowska, for about 4 months, and when she agreed to take me, she really wasn't keen on taking me. We were together. Hanka had 2 little girls. She had me, and she had another little girl who was 7 years older. Her name is Sosha. Zosia was not Jewish, so there was no risk in Hanka taking care of her, but there was big risk in her taking me. But she did nevertheless. She was a very, very selfless person, wonderful person. When she couldn't look after us anymore, she met these nuns on the street, and she knew Sister Clara vaguely, and she begged her to take me. And Sister Clara said that I was almost 3. She said I was tiny, tiny, tiny. I looked like an 18-month-old, 2-year-old child. And I dropped my hand from Hanka's hand, and I ran to her, and I put my arms around her legs. That's all I could reach. And I looked up at her, and I said, "Pick me up, please." And she picked me up, and she held me, and I cuddled into her neck, into her collar. She had a fur collar. And she said she looked at this little child with tiny little thing, with black eyes and a bright smile, and she said she just fell in love with me. She said she had to take me. She had no choice. She said God brought me to her, and it was meant to be, and she just felt that there was no choice. She had to take me. In spite of the danger to herself, which we talked about when I met her in 2005, I said, "How did you make such a decision? You risked the lives of all the children who were with us." Because in that little farmhouse, there were maybe a dozen children besides me and Zosia, and several nuns and a priest. And she risked everybody's life to take me.
What does it mean to you to be back here today?
I've been back here, I believe this is my fourth time? Fifth time. It's my first time after her death. And it feels very, very different. There's still a peace about this place, a tranquility, the kind of life that these women who have devoted themselves in the service of God, they live here in a kind of, I don't know, almost like a bubble, away from the daily hassles of life, and doing the good work that they do, because even today they have over 300, well now they have 180 children, because we found out from the priest that we met today that many blind children are integrated into regular schools now. So they do this work, they live here, and there's a peace here that remains that she lived with all the years of her life that she lived here. It was really quite amazing. And what it means to me, I feel connected to her here, and I hope that we'll have a chance to go to the cemetery and find where she's buried. I had been there with her once before. Dzień dobry. Dzień dobry. Dzień dobry. I had been there with her once before when she showed me the gravestones of her family, her parents and her sister and her husband. Proszę. Proszę.
A to książek? Pani są, panie moją?
Filmują teraz, tak. Aha, filmują.
No to ja będę miała ładny obraz.
No, na pewno.
Proszę skasować. Bardzo
Dziękuję,
proszę.
dziękuję.
It sounds like church is out.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Yes.
So we're going to have lots of people passing by.
Yes. So what is this? How does this? What is this? When you see now also the nuns coming out.
Well, you know, when I was here before, it was. I've met several nuns. Dobrze, dobrze, dziękuję. When I was here before, I saw many of the nuns, and it always astounds me how they do this, how they live this life. Dzień dobry, dzień dobry.
Dobrze, nie idzie. Dobrze, śpiły się.
Is it something that reminds you, seeing this?
Well, the habits are familiar, and but again, I have no recollection of that from the war. I have recollection, obviously, from my visits here, and it's kind of like stopping time in a sense, you know, because nuns in other parts of the world don't wear habits anymore, and they're much more integrated into society, and their work is often involved with secular society. Here, it's separate still. It's traditional. And Poland is like that. It's a very Catholic country. And I think it supplies nuns and priests to the world. Actually, I come from Quebec in Canada, and Quebec used to be like this too. It was traditional for every French-Canadian family who had 10, 11 children to give a child, a female child to a convent, to a cloister, and a male child to the priesthood. I look at that, the little porch, and I see us that day. I see the little goodies that they brought out, the juice from their own fruit trees, the fruit from their own fruit trees, little cookies, and the conversation, and a whole sort of gaggle of young nuns. They looked like they were 15, 16 years old, all around us listening to the conversation, and everybody crying, and then just being focused on it. Sister Clara spoke about it often, and when I met her here the first time, she said that after more than 60 years, God brought me back to her. Because when I was taken from her, or when I left Sister Clara, when I left the little farmhouse because my father's sister came to get me, Sister Clara was away. So we never really had a chance to say goodbye, I to her or she to me. And so it was kind of unfinished business for her, and she wondered all her life what had happened to me, and if I was alive, and if I'd survived, and how life had treated me. And one of my great regrets is that when my father was alive, I didn't question him enough. I also don't understand why he didn't research this more. Why he didn't try to find out who was it that hid me, who was it that saved my life. You know, once we came to Canada, we were constantly sending parcels to people in Poland who had saved family members. Clothing and food. Poland was not in good shape at that point. We came in 1948. So it was a very hard time here. And we were constantly sending parcels to people who'd been helpful to family members. If my father had known about Sister Clara, I'm sure that he would have reached out to her. So I don't know why he didn't find out. Very resourceful man.
When was the last time you saw Sister Clara alive?
I saw her in 2009, and she died in 2010. She was 99, and we always promised each other that we would see each other at her 100th birthday. She died of pneumonia in her own bed. And I was traveling at that time. I think I was in Cambodia.
Do you know the month?
And I got an email. Yes, she died.
The month that she was born, actually. Meaning, when was her 100th birthday?
Jeez, I have it at home. I don't remember. I think it was spring, but I don't remember. She would have been, she had a few months to go before her 100th birthday. But she was pretty close. When I saw her the last time was 2009, and she was not nearly as lucid. She knew who I was, but when I had seen her in 2005, she was very lucid. Her memory was clear, and she was able to describe in detail and recall details, and she was amazing, amazing. Told stories incessantly. In 2007, when I came with other members of my family, we had lunch just around the corner in one of the buildings here. It was a big dining room. And we sat for hours and talked, and she held my hand and talked and talked and talked. And then when we made the film, I came with the filmmaker, whose name is Kirsten, and she usually napped in the afternoon, but because we were here, she didn't want to nap, and she was really tired. So I said to her, "You nap and we'll wait for you." She said, "No," she said, "I'll sleep after you leave." And she fell asleep holding my hand, and holding my hand so tightly that it almost stopped the circulation of my hand, you know. We were very connected. I feel very, very fortunate to have had the last 5 years of her life that I shared with her, even though there was big distance. I spoke to her every 3 or 4 weeks, and I saw her 4 or 5 times in the 5 years. So that was excellent.
She would be here now, what would you say to her?
I would tell her that I loved her. I would bring her flowers. Because she was blind, we always brought her flowers that had a scent, usually roses, big bouquets. When I came with my family, there were 3 enormous bouquets. And we always brought her, she loved chocolate. I always brought her Belgian chocolate. And not only that, but I knew people in Canada, in Montreal, who were traveling here. And whenever I heard of somebody through a travel agent who arranged our first trip, I would meet them and give them chocolates to bring here, and they would. So I would hug her and hold her, and she would hold me. And
Thank you. You're welcome.
she Jimmy. Exactly there.